Lisa, I'll be your skater boy.
You wish, loser. But if you can make it down the slalom, I'll think about it. Oh dear.
Welcome to Scrapheap Challenge, where two inventive teams endeavour to dream up extraordinary machines using the rusty relics littering the heap.
This week, our teams need to go large. They must supersize a skateboard to gigantic proportions in order to carry all four members around our slalom course.
For years, skateboards have been a cool mode of transport and an excellent way of hurting yourself. Boards are unstable with one person and next to impossible with two. So how will our teams fare with four?
First up are a high-pressure team of steam engine enthusiasts from Aberdeen in Bonnie, Scotland. These steam nuts are used to working under pressure. Clan Captain George is joined by brother Hamish, aka Hamster, and fellow scavenger Laura. It's okay to the steaming Scots.
Hoping to hose down the Scots are a trio of Norfolk's finest firefighters. These real-life action heroes are used to working closely together. Team Captain Simon is ably assisted by smouldering scavengers Pete and Bob. Let's hope they can handle the heat. They're the Extinguishers.
Welcome, dudes. This week's challenge is going to be like totally rad, man. All you bros on a board the size of a bus. It'll be sweet. You'll need an awesome deck and massive trucks, but you've only got a gnarly amount of time.
Yes, teams. What Rob is trying to say is you have just 10 hours to build giant skateboards.
Get stoked on the sound of the gong.
Wait for it, wait for it.
Go!
Our team's giant skateboards must accommodate the entire team plus their expert. The teams can use any drive mechanism they want, however steering must be achieved through weight transfer alone. No steering wheels are allowed.
Right then, lads, skateboard. How are we going to steer it? How are we going to work out drive?
Two independent trucks, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of them driven, one of them just free to steer.
So you have skateboarded before?
Fell off a few, but that's a bit.
Well, might fall off this one as well.
Bike engine, maximum about 250, two-stroke ideally.
4 wheels, an axle in between, then we need a chassis.
All four of us could put sufficient weight onto one side to turn it nice and sharp.
Plenty of weight in there. No shortage of weight there.
Use quad bike wheels now.
With the Scots threatening to raid our quad bikes for parts, it's time to meet the experts who'll keep the teams under control. Keeping the Scots from steaming over is this veteran boarder. By day, he's a trained mechanical engineer, but on evenings and weekends, he's a skateboard-riding adrenaline junkie. He's Tom Worsley.
Hello team,
Hi,
I'm
how you
Tom,
doing, all right?
Captain
Hi,
George, Mr Hamster, and Laura.
How you doing?
So, what do you think?
Well, we thought we'd use like car wheels, a car back axle, and then like a chassis or something for the top.
Well, I've brought a little toy with me, which might help. Here are your trucks. The pivot angle of that pin determines how the truck's going to behave.
Yeah.
And they simply distort. You see those rubber bushings?
Yeah.
Now, I'm thinking maybe car tyres in there.
Car tails,
Yeah?
The steaming Scots are sticking with a classic 70s board design. They'll mount their wheels underneath their board on twisting metal axles called trucks. They'll use car tyres and inner tubes to act as stabilising bushes, and an electric motor should ensure a smooth ride. It's proven technology on a small scale, but will carrying these Big Macs be too much for their super-sized skate?
Can all four of us fit on that?
Not on this one.
Helping to set off the Extinguishers is a welder and fabricator specialising in skateboards and street luges. When he's not building them, he's riding them. He's Lenny Stocker.
Hi Lenny, Bob. Pete.
Hello.
We've been trying to come up with an idea, basically quite narrow, we can all sit in line.
Okay, this is a pivot point. To stop it from tipping over. We're going to put car springs in there. Yep. And the front and the back's going to be the same.
The extinguishers will also be attaching outsized trucks to a giant board. Their board will be kept upright by springs, which will compress and expand as the team move their weight around the deck, turning the trucks and steering the board. Power will be provided by a small petrol engine, but the positioning of the springs is vital. Too much tilt, and they'll be overboard.
Well, we need 2 axles.
With no skateboard shops on the heap, our teams will need plenty of scrap.
Something to clad the deck with.
Power source the engine.
All right, go for it.
Let's go.
Yep. Right, go boys.
With just 10 hours to complete their builds, our teams waste no time in their sorties for skateboard scrap. Aberdeen steam buffs, the steaming Scots and their expert Tom plan to build an electric-powered skateboard. They'll need tyres and inner tubes to construct their truck turning system.
Meanwhile, Norwich firefighters, the Extinguishers, and their expert Lenny are looking to use a lightweight petrol engine to give their board some suitable grunt. The team will use car springs mounted on their axles to create the turns needed to complete our course.
With both build bays bare and a heap heaving with scrap, both teams are hoping to gain an early advantage.
And as if responding to a 999 call, Norfolk firefighters, the Extinguishers, may already have found the petrol power they need for their board.
Doc, you receiving?
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, Doc, how does a 125 scooter grab you?
That sounds fantastic. Bring it in.
OK, mate, it's all loaded up. Run away.
See, firemen, they've got to work quickly, don't they?
know, don't they? They know where to
Yeah.
find a brand new scooter. That's lovely.
That's
Right,
brilliant.
Yeah, that does, Pete.
So the Extinguishers have got their power source in record time, but then you'd expect a rapid response from these boys.
The Extinguishers are a trio of firefighting instructors from Norfolk. First up is Team Captain Simon.
I've known Simon since he joined the fire brigade, and like a bad penny, he keeps coming back to haunt me.
Then there's Bob, who's usually in charge of this motley crew.
Bob is an excellent guy. He really is. I say nice things about him.
Joker of the pack is Pete.
Pete is a fantastic guy. He's a natural comedian, and that is Pete's phone going off. I apologise for that.
But how will Bob cope with taking orders for a change?
Although I'm Simon and Peter's boss, I'm quite happy to work under Simon, and I'm sure that we'll all muck in together, get the job done, and have a bit of fun while we're doing it.
We're the Extinguishers, and we're going to smoke the opposition.
Pete and Bob.
How we doing?
Well, I'm all right. How are you doing?
Sweating. We're doing good so far.
Any experience on skateboards?
Some experience, yes, mostly grazed knees, but as for great experience with skateboards, no.
But you have done some snowboarding, I think I'm right in saying.
That's true.
Which is the same idea of transfer of weight?
Yeah, kind of. I guess that could be said, yeah.
Because when we told you what the challenge was, you were all to that. What are they talking about? I mean, did you have any ideas, any clue when we first said?
No, none at all. And to be fair, that kind of caught us all by surprise because, well, first off, I wasn't entirely sure what a giant skateboard was. Fortunately, we've got a good expert, and we seem to have got it grasped of it now. We've got lots of bits we need. It's going well.
But it's not going well for the steaming Scots and their search for an electric motor.
Found an electric forklift. It's only a three-wheeler, but there's a lot of batteries in it, George.
Does it go? No, it's no key.
It's not a key.
Even with a key, that heavy forklift isn't going anywhere in a hurry.
You think it'll drive?
There's no way you lift that.
No.
So the search continues. But these sturdy Scots aren't normally put off by heavy machinery.
It may not be Paris, Rome or New York, but Aberdeen is the headquarters of steam engine enthusiasts, the Steaming Scots. Steering this team in the right direction is Captain George.
George will be a good captain because he's loud and he likes everybody to know it's his way of doing it.
Then there's Hamish, or Hamster to his friends.
Hamster's always been called Hamster since he was little. He used to lie in his bed all day and then he would be up all night.
Finally, there's professional welder Laura.
With the combination of skills we've got, we'll do great as a team. We've got George, great mechanic, Hamish, fantastic mechanic, and with my welding skills, put anything together.
We're the Steaming Scots, and we're going to steam over the opposition.
Having ditched one heavy vehicle, Hamster and Laura have focused on this even heavier airport trolley.
Oh, you found something. I've never seen teams before be told what the challenge is and look more dumbfounded.
Oh, couldn't believe it.
Because have you ever done skateboarding?
Never, never.
But it could be good fun with 4 of you, sort of diving from one side to the other.
Yes, yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
But you could have a breakthrough. You could make a technological breakthrough and come up with a whole new skateboard design. And it could catch on as a huge new craze.
Oh yeah, new craze, giant skateboarding.
Or not. All right, I'll see you later.
Right, cheers.
It's going to be a very heavy skateboard, I think, because that's 3 tons, that thing weighs. So the axle maybe just is only half a ton. Half ton, and then another axle, another half a ton, and then the top ton. So it'll be about a 2.5 ton skateboard. It's fine, it'll all work.
As the Scots struggle with their heavy hulk, weight is also on the mind of the Extinguishers. This scooter is tiny, but not tiny enough for the firemen. Fortunately, Simon and Lenny have no mechanical sympathy whatsoever.
Yeah, we got spark.
This may look like a brutal physical regime, but after its radical weight loss programme, their slender scooter turns out to be a healthy runner.
Which is more than can be said for the steaming Scots obese airport trolley.
Right, we're going to dump this one because it's too heavy. The engine, it's got a motor on it, it's Fury, it's huge.
We need to think about what kind of vehicles have transaxles on them. We need golf buggies or lawn mowers or electric shopping carts, you know, anything like that.
So after abandoning their second heavy vehicle, Laura and Hamster are under pressure to come up with the goods. With an empty build bay, Tom and George have nothing to do, and their skateboard's going nowhere fast.
To make matters worse, the Extinguishers are way ahead with a working power source already sorted.
What I want to do is just get that through there so I don't cut it off when I cut it, just round this side to it and put it back on a fuel tank. Otherwise I'm going to have some petrol leaking everywhere.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Oh, sorry,
Morning.
dudes. Now, Simon, your scavengers have done pretty well. I mean, you're only a couple of minutes into the build and you've already got something to work on. There have been times on Scrapheap where the expert and the captain are standing in here for days waiting for something to come in. So
We've got Bob, as you've probably seen. Bob is the best scavenger in Norfolk.
Right.
All right, that's why we brought him.
Yeah.
And he's done really well because we had some problems. We weren't quite sure what we were going to do until our expert came along.
We're going to have a drop-in deck, so we'll actually only be about a foot off the ground.
So you can actually step off.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of you.
Yeah.
I think I'll just get off that now.
Yeah.
That trailer's hooked up, right?
Scott's scavengers, Laura and Hamster, have already rejected 2 lardy electric vehicles. But could this old street cleaner put them out of their motor misery?
Right, I think we found the engine we're looking for.
Let us know what kind of axle you've got.
Right, it's a little axle, it's got a gearbox on it. It's just a straight shaft through it.
That sounds great.
Sounds perfect, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hope it works.
It had better work. Finding a suitable power source is costing them valuable time, and they've got to begin their build without further delay.
What do you think of this? Let's have a look.
There's no scavenging problems for the Extinguishers.
I think we're wrapped up for checker plate.
This steel checker plate should provide a grippy surface for their skateboard deck.
There's loads of that stuff as well. Do you want some more of that sort of size? Blue stuff?
Yeah, if you can bring it. That's more like it. Len?
More importantly, they found this lightweight axle.
That would be fantastic.
They'll need 2 of these for their board.
Excellent. Is that going to be fun?
Absolutely brilliant.
There's an identical one on the
Yeah.
way. Well, if Bob hasn't set fire to it by now, because he's doing his utmost.
And Pete's not wrong. Remember, in real life, Bob is the lead trainer for Norfolk Fire and Rescue Service. Enough said.
Finally, the steaming Scots build is underway. They may be a bit behind, but at least George and Tom can start removing the axle from their street cleaner.
Hey,
Hi.
my Scottish friend. You have got this rather interesting looking item in your build
Yeah.
area, but apart from that, it's looking a bit bare.
Yeah, there's a little bit, yeah. But
George, are you a little annoyed with your scavengers? Are they not pulling their fingers out?
no, I'll get onto them later on. I don't want to upset Laura too much.
Is Laura a bit touchy?
Yeah, you know what women are like.
Hey, steady on, George. OK, so what have we got here?
It's a pedestrian floor cleaner.
Oh, it's like one of those things you see the guys going along behind on Oxford Street
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
with the
scrubbing the
brushes.
floor,
Yeah. It's got a differential on it, so that's what we need. However, it's built to go at pedestrian speeds. So we're thinking maybe we put a faster motor on this, you get a faster vehicle.
OK, so you want to go reasonably fast, but obviously speed isn't the most important thing with this
control
challenge.
is the essence here, which is why we're going electric.
Okay, why is electric better?
You've got a lot of better slow-speed control. You can ramp it up, and, you know, if this thing leaps off the line like a dragster, we're all going to fall off.
That's true. We're a bit worried of that.
Yeah.
What do you reckon to your team then, Tom?
I reckon they're great. Scots are the best engineers. Get an Englishman to cook an egg. What does he do? Boil it. Scots, when they cook an egg, they boil it, they wrap it in meat, roll it in breadcrumbs, deep fry it. It's an engineering solution.
If only we were asking you to make Scotch eggs.
Back on the heap, professional fireman Bob is doing his best to flambe that four-door saloon. After a few more blazes, their second axle is finally free.
We're there.
Now, I don't think I've ever seen teams more baffled at the beginning of a challenge, but I think the Extinguishers, they're an amazing team, aren't they? They've really gone in there, they've got stuff really fast.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Bit between their teeth. I mean, I think firemen are used to doing things fast, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess
not
they have
hanging
to.
around.
Yeah.
I went to chat to the scavengers, and Pete, fair play to him, he did stop and actually talk to me about what they're doing. Bob, no chance.
Oh, really?
They're definitely a determined lot. You know, the steaming Scots.
Yes.
The steam engine speed of start, I would say.
It's
Quick.
not what they wanted, was it? They would like to have made maybe a skateboard steam engine that goes on rails. They would have been happy with.
They managed to get a very old street cleaning trolley back into the build area. Tom, their expert, does seem to really know what he's doing, and they are basically replicating a classic skateboard design.
Right.
So that's what they're going for. But George said he doesn't mind falling off. He's got plenty of padding, so he doesn't mind taking the fall. But I think it's going to be more like a traditional skateboard, where they are going to be high up, lean around corners, and frankly, I think they're quite scared.
After a slow start, the steaming Scots scavenge is picking up momentum.
Is that any use, Tom?
Spot on. Lovely.
Now they've found their power source, the simplicity of their design is paying dividends. Their trucks are made from wheels, tyres and scrap metal, of which there is an abundant supply on the heap.
By contrast, the Extinguishers have had a busy build bay since the off. Captain Simon and expert Lenny have almost completed their scooter-powered rear axle, and it's time to start thinking about the springs they'll use to build their skateboard trucks. But scavengers Pete and Bob will have to find them first.
First thing first, get the wheel off. Right. How about them springs, Pete?
They've located this badly parked Vauxhall, and they're hoping that its 4 large suspension springs will do the job.
But after just a few minutes, it becomes clear that those springs won't budge easily. The guys could be here for a while. Maybe now's the time to meet today's judge.
This seasoned professional is the current UK skateboard slalom champion and owner of Europe's leading supplier of racing skateboard equipment. He'll be casting an expert eye over both teams' moves and grooves in our Scrapheap Skatefest. He's Mike Stride.
Welcome back. Welcome. This is a big challenge for me because I've stood on a skateboard and then fallen off very, very quickly and felt quite badly bruised.
That's most people's experience.
Oh, is it?
I think.
I'm not that unusual then.
There's a
good.
high pain factor initially, and if you can get past that, you're fine.
Right. But what is it that actually makes them turn then when you're standing on them?
It's a very simple principle. It's just leaning. That's a standard skateboard truck, and by leaning, you'll get a turning effect.
So that's effectively what they're doing then, is building giant versions of that.
Well, I think the Steaming Scots are doing exactly that. In fact, expert Tom has shown them a skateboard and said, I want a bigger one of these.
Right.
So he's got the principle across extremely well.
Yeah.
And that has its disadvantages because everything's bigger. The wheels are bigger. The deck is higher off the ground.
So the Extinguishers, are they going for a slightly different design?
They are. They're going for more a mountain board, which essentially is the same. They're using a spring to turn.
Oh, I see. I see there's 2 springs, right, like that. But they've got that same principle then.
It's a similar principle, but there is a disadvantage in that, let's say one of the springs fails. They're either going to turn left or they're going to turn right.
And they're not going to go straight again.
There's no way they're going to go straight.
Yes.
This week's challenge is all about steering a vehicle by weight distribution alone. Skateboards achieve this steering using devices known as trucks. The axles of a skateboard are attached to the deck by a rotating pivot pin. The pivoting pin is angled in such a way that when weight is applied to one side of the board, the axle is forced to turn on its pivot. To keep the board from tipping over completely, the bottom of the axle is also attached to the deck by rubber bushes. The Steaming Scots are replicating this classic design by using car tyres in place of the bushes. whilst the Extinguishers will stabilise their board by using springs that do the same job.
I know it's early stages, but in terms of the design and the basic principle, which is your favourite?
You know what, as a purist, as a skateboarder, I love the idea of a big skateboard. I love the simplicity of that.
So you reckon, for the time being, Steaming Scots have it, do they?
Yes.
From your heart?
From my heart, I'd like to see a big skateboard win.
With their build bay now bursting with bits and all 4 team members working hard, the Steaming Scots are really moving.
Sweet. We'll do it anyway.
Whilst George and Tom begin constructing their car tyre bushes for their trucks, Master Welder Laura is given the task of assembling the skateboard axles.
Teams, this is your 6-hour call. You have 6 hours remaining. Thank you.
Right, we need the springs as soon as we can then, mate.
But those springs are starting to become a real problem.
You've not done that yet, Bob?
Nah.
Hang on.
After an excellent start to the day, Pete and Bob can't afford to waste any more time. And with the Steaming Scots right behind them, they're losing their early lead. Aberdeen's steam enthusiasts, the Steaming Scots and their expert Tom, are building an electric-powered skateboard based on a classic 70s truck design. And they're using car tyres and inner tubes to give them their desired turning motion. Having wasted an age searching for a vehicle with a suitable axle, the Scots finally settled on this old electric cleaner. With the axle removed, the remains can go back on the heap. They're hoping to mate the axle with this powerful electric motor.
That's wanging round, isn't it? You're looking over 1,000 RPM, I think, which is a problem. Because
The motor's a good one, but it's going to struggle to get those large car wheels moving, so it's back to the heap for Hamish to find smaller alternatives.
The Extinguishers are also looking for an alternative. Having wasted over an hour trying to get springs from that old Vauxhall, scavengers Pete and Bob decide to retrace their tracks.
Like that?
Like that? Oh, you numpty. We've spent hours doing that.
Earlier today, the chaps removed the axles from 2 upturned cars, and in doing so, freed the springs. Shame they didn't remember sooner, really.
The Steaming Scots aren't wasting time, as ace welder Laura begins extending their rear axle using these scaffold poles. With work also starting on the front axle, Captain George adopts the heavy-handed approach when attaching their new forklift wheels. While expert Tom takes extra care with the measurements for their giant front truck design. With the rear axle extended, Laura can weld on those remaining forklift wheels. And before long, that classic 70s icon starts to take shape in gigantic form on their build bay floor.
And the Scots aren't the only ones picking up speed. The Extinguishers have already started on the deck for their mammoth skateboard and have shortened this car axle with matching wheels to be the same width as their scooter wheeled front end. This is the more complicated build of the two, but that doesn't mean it's all work and no play for these boys.
You'll not take me alive, I'll tell you. We might have to put a bit of box on there to drop it down.
Expert Lenny might appear to be the quiet, sensible member of the team, but that's because he knows that the size and positioning of their spring-loaded pivots is critical.
So you're happy with that plate just being welded straight on the underside?
If that wasn't enough to worry about, they also need to find a way of keeping their springs in position.
You want me to find some spring cups?
Spring cups?
Spring cups, that's what they're called.
Are they called spring cups?
That's what they're called.
They don't need to be really tight.
No.
Okay, just so even a bit of tube, if you find some tube out there.
Right.
Yeah.
So you happy out there?
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Don't get lost, will you?
No, try
Don't
not
tie
to.
yourself out. Remember, you're old.
I feel naked.
And with those words of encouragement ringing in his ears, Bob returns to the heap, whilst the rest of the team press on with the build.
Right, we need to get this pivot point on here.
Right.
With work progressing on both trucks, it won't be long before they'll need those spring cups. Fortunately, senior scavenger Bob returns from the heap in record time.
The upside is...
And his teammates are keen to see what he's found.
What the hell is that? That's the spring holders. They might not look like it at the moment, but...
Well, Bob, what are you on?
I don't know, he needs his tablet. Bob, go and take your tablet, all right?
Look.
Come back with something else.
Look.
That's fantastic for we're boiling the springs.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Bob, you've embarrassed yourself. Go stand in the corner.
You've embarrassed Norfolk Fire Service now, haven't you?
Why? What did you want it in? a cup that'll hold a spring.
There's nothing worse than teammates making a mockery of your crockery.
2 inches in, it's kind of 30 inches to the V.
Next door, there's no culinary confusion.
Yeah, that'll be fine. So, just tack it.
The steaming Scots make their final measurements before welding the first of their outsized trucks into position.
Afternoon, team. Look, you're going very fast. You're all doing very well.
You think so?
I think so.
I'm glad you think so.
Well, it looks like something's happening, which is really good. Yeah. Obviously, that looks very like a skateboard truck.
Yeah.
I can understand that bit so far, but I don't quite know how it all goes together.
This pole is our kingpin.
Right.
And this hoop, this metal hoop here, is this triangle.
Right.
It's just a scaled-up version. It's really simple.
Yeah.
On a normal skateboard, you'd swap these bushings for softer or harder ones depending on how well you want to steer.
Yeah.
We don't have that option, so we're actually going to put inner tubes in the tyres and inflate them or deflate them so you can get that adjustment.
So you could let it down to sort of 30 psi for a little bit of wobble.
Yeah.
Pump it up to 50 for rock solid.
We'll see how it handles.
Both teams are now making steady progress. The Extinguishers have more or less completed their trucks and can now offer up their skate deck to measure up for their steering pivots.
I mean, it might not even be the right...
Meanwhile, the steaming Scots inflatable truck bushes are held in place with wheel rims, and this steel beam will form the base of their deck.
Does it look like a skateboard now?
It's spot on again. It's self-leveling.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a French car.
French
I think that bubble's stuck in the middle.
Now, Mike, unusually for this time of day, both teams seem to be doing quite well. I mean, I'm nervous about that. I'm touching a bit of wood now.
They're looking like skateboards.
The decision by the Scots to change their wheels, because they originally had like ordinary road wheels on, didn't they?
That's
ordinary
right.
car wheels, and they've changed to those forklift truck wheels.
Yeah, to change the gearing. Yeah. But that's brought them closer to the ground, so it's made it more stable.
Yeah. Now, the other team, the Extinguishers, they're going to use springs, are they, in their trucks?
I'm impressed by that. I just think that gives them an enormous amount of adjustability. If the springs are too stiff, they can move the springs in closer to the centre line.
Right. Now, when we talked before, your favourites were the steaming Scots. Have you changed your mind at all since then?
Oh, completely.
Oh, have you?
Yes, absolutely.
I wondered if that was the case.
Well, I don't see any point in being on a skateboard if I don't think it's going to turn. Yeah. And I feel the Extinguishers, they're still going to be able to turn better.
Steering is the #1 priority for our teams, but skateboarders have not always had this luxury. The first skateboards appeared in the 1920s, but it wasn't until the 60s that twisting and turning became a possibility. Using roller skate trucks for steering added a whole new dimension to the sport, and by the 1970s, skateboarding was big business, as bubble-permed men in tiny shorts became a common sight on the streets of America and Europe. The 80s and 90s saw the development of purpose-built skate parks. Big hair and hot pants were replaced with cool street fashions, as skateboarding became a mainstream urban sport. Back on the heap, it's crunch time for the Extinguishers. Norfolk's finest firemen have had a relatively trouble-free build, but must now decide exactly where to attach their truck to the board.
The angle of the deck, we may have to alter these anyway.
Yeah, but I think the height for that one's right. I mean, I would just stick it where it is. Stick it where it is. We'll work out in a minute.
Right.
I'll carry on cutting these retaining bushes.
Is that in the middle, Pete? Can you see that mark?
Oh, Extinguishers, I like it. This is looking very swish, guys. Are you working in metric or imperial?
Both.
Are you?
Both, whatever looks the easiest at the time.
You need... I don't know, let's do it in a minute.
All right, So tell me, I don't quite know what, because I haven't seen any of this. So this is your pivoting thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
To let you steer, which is just... Is it boggled you a bit, the steering business?
I'm glad we had the expert here, yeah.
I've had to go back to the expert a few times to just clear up the finer points.
Right, so you had a real strong grip on the whole thing?
Yeah, I really did. And then I lost it.
I'll see you later on, guys.
Cheers.
Right.
Cheers. Right, we'll make the springs fit these. Yeah.
Luckily, Lenny hasn't lost his grip. The Extinguishers are ready to marry the first of their trucks to the deck of their massive mountain board. It's time to see if their steering theory works in practice.
Yo-ho!
You got it?
Well done, Lenny.
All right. And all the springs, all the springs are going to do.
Good old boy.
Is see that slack movement? All the springs are going to do is stop take that slack movement out.
It's a triumph for the firemen, but they can't afford to waste any more time backslapping.
But if you,
That's because next door the steaming Scots have both trucks in place and are testing their steering with human guinea pigs.
I can see where this is going. Right. Let's go left. Okay, left.
Let's steer like.
Oh. UJ. Okay.
Expert Tom seems untroubled and thinks a beefier weld will secure that pivot pin. And with Laura, the scrap heap sorceress, wielding her welding wand, it's no wonder he's so chilled. With the steering test on hold for the time being, Hamster and George begin bodging up a bracket to mount that mighty motor on. But as testing resumes, guinea pig Laura isn't convinced.
Yeah, but it's going the wrong way.
Beefing up that pivot pin has made their steering worse.
Is it because George is heavier than you are?
No.
Why don't you get on with her and see if it works?
But 2 guinea pigs and a hamster are one rodent too many. The pivot pin has snapped again, this time underneath the board.
The pipe. That's why it's cracked there, because you're trying to twist it. We're not put a bit of pipe over that onto here and not fix that to the pipe.
And they fix that to the pipe?
Hey?
So this can turn.
No, we don't want that to turn.
That doesn't turn.
Never one to go with the crowd, Laura refers to expert Tom's real skateboard to make her point.
Turns in a hole rather than like a shaft in a hole.
It's loose.
It's loose at that end.
And the welding wonder girl's spot on.
For a skateboard truck to work effectively, the pivot pin must be able to rotate to allow the axle to turn when weight is distributed around the board. The Scots welded their pivot pin solid, and when they stood on the edge of the board, the pin was unable to rotate and broke free.
Not only has Laura pinpointed the problem, she's found a simple solution.
Go in.
Sleeving the pin in a short section of pipe allows the pin to rotate as the board tilts.
That'll work.
I'll be happy with that, yeah?
Yeah, cheers.
Laura's one-woman rescue act has saved the day, but the steaming Scots have lost precious time late in the build.
Teams, you're all doing so well. I just thought I'd tell you, you've got 1 hour remaining. 1 hour of lovely build time remaining, team. Thank you.
Should we take the springs out, weld them up?
The Extinguishers have picked up the pace. After an eternity spent positioning their rear truck, the firefighters are now ready to secure the springs, which will help transfer movement on the board into steering on the ground. And surprise, surprise, Bob's pots and pans are surplus to requirements.
Happy now? That's it?
Do it. Yeah,
done. Right, are we going to measure front back or not? Not going to worry.
It's a bit late now, mate.
Do it.
With the rear truck in position, lining up the driven front truck is a much simpler exercise, especially with the Norwich hosman working as a well-oiled machine.
Now, Mike, I've got this sneaking suspicion that building giant skateboards isn't as hard as some of the other challenges because both teams have done really well. I mean, they've actually now both built machines that we can actually recognise as functioning transportation systems that tip. That they definitely do tippy sideways.
They tip, but that has to translate into a steering movement. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Which, I mean, I have to say that I've only had a quick cursory glance at the steaming Scots machine, and it tips alarmingly far. I mean, it really tips.
It does. I think seasickness could be a problem with these guys. Yes.
That is quite alarming. But then, on the other hand, the Extinguishers machine, their steering is working a little bit more effectively.
That's a thing of beauty. I think I can make an analogy that the Extinguishers is the Freddie Flintoff of skateboards, but the steaming Scots is the Fred Flintstone.
It's very cruel. But it sounds to me like, in terms of favourite builds at the moment, you're sticking with the Extinguishers.
Oh, I'd stick your mortgage on it.
Would you?
Absolutely.
Get on. Come on, right, ready?
Well, let's see if Rob's in danger of being homeless. With the deck on, the Extinguishers are in a position to test their weight transfer steering system.
Right, so ready? Left a bit.
Yeah.
Right. Whoa.
It works a treat. Rob's house is safe for now, and we can enjoy that rarest of occurrences, a Scrapheap team finishing their build early.
Boom, boom.
That'll do. Do your hand down, Bob.
Early finishes are a fantasy for the steaming Scots, who've got to go like the clappers after the mix-up with their truck's pivot pin. The working components of their scaled-up skateboard are complete, but they need to get their deck sorted and fashion handrail supports that will allow them to shift their weight to the very edge of the board. And guess who's doing the lion's share of the work?
Right.
We're on the floor again, guys. It's only just.
What about when we're standing on it?
No. Well, we'll soon find out.
For the Extinguishers, it's playtime.
Should we play Ice Pie?
They may not be as relaxed as their opponents, but at the 11th hour, the steaming Scots appear to have a functioning four-man skateboard, even if it looks like a boxing ring balancing on a pin. Okay, dudes, your 10 hours of toil have ticked away. It's time to kick-flip your tools into touch.
Oh yes, teams, you better get some Zeds, because tomorrow you're going to be slaloming your super-sized skateboards. We're it, teams.
Our teams are just optimising their oversized skateboards in readiness for the Scrapheap Slalom skate-off.
Balance, bravery, and a bit of blind luck will be needed by our teams for today's test.
They'll have to travel down our twisting course on their giant skateboards, weaving through the gates before crossing the finish line. Every barrel knocked over will incur a 10-second penalty.
The team with the fastest single run will be crowned Tony Hawk of the Heap.
With the first race imminent, our teams have just moments to fine-tune and decorate their skateboards. And in the case of the Extinguishers, each other. Casting an eye over this horseplay and what promises to be an exhilarating test is our judge, Mike Stride.
Now I've seen the machines side by side, one of the things I'd never noticed during the build is the difference in width.
But there's also a difference in wheelbase, in length. So the Extinguishers with the longer board has a narrower wheelbase, and the Steaming Scots have a shorter wheelbase and a wider track.
Yeah.
I think it evens the score out. I think in real terms, the turning circle is pretty similar.
Right.
Having said that, the narrower the board, the less turning you actually have to do to get around anything.
Get close to the cones, can't you? Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm taking it then from the point of view of your favourite. You're sticking with the Extinguishers.
I'd love to sit here and say, well, both have the same chance, but in this case, I'm going to come down firmly on the Extinguishers to win this challenge.
Yeah.
First up on our giant skateboard slalom are the Extinguishers.
Well, Extinguishers, you certainly look ready for the fray up there. Any last-minute nerves?
Yes.
Now, what are your tactics? Is your first run? What are you thinking?
Nice and steady, get through, get a clean run, hope our motor lasts, and then on the second run, give it a bit more, and on the third, flat out.
Third, just hoon it.
Yes.
All right, good luck, Extinguishers.
Thank you.
Extinguishers, get ready for the push-off. Go on the sound of the horn.
Well, we're giving it a push. Not sure that's in the rules.
Go, go. So, easy does it is the plan for the Extinguishers. But how will their spring-loaded board handle those turns?
Right, hang on, left. Right.
They're heading for the second one. That's a perfect line. That's brilliant.
Really well.
It's a steering success for the Extinguishers. Those spring-powered trucks are making light work of our slalom.
Well, blast to the line, Lenny. Blast to the line. Go for it. Go.
Now they want to head straight for that finish line at full power.
Fantastic. Just break.
Lisa to Robert, Lisa to Robert. That was a pretty impressive run.
Weren't they slick? I mean, talk about team effort. They were in perfect harmony.
And they did it in a time of 30 seconds dead.
If I had the scorecard, I'd be holding up 10s.
And the machine held up beautifully, and it did exactly what it said on the box.
I love it when a plan comes together. A steady approach means the firemen have got a clean run in the bag. So 30 seconds is the time to beat as the Steaming Scots prepare for their first run. Steaming Scots, get ready to lean. Go on the sound of the horn.
Sorry, George.
It's an electric start for the Scots. That powerful motor seems much quicker off the line.
Oh, it does look slightly scary when they lean to steer it.
That is
Oh, no.
catastrophic.
Catastrophic failure.
Oh, no.
Now, Steaming Scots, did it break badly or break a little bit?
Catastrophic.
The back axle, the casting split.
Is that just by virtue of the fact that it came off a scrap heap?
Yeah. Probably wasn't designed to carry air weight either.
Oh. Do you think you're going to be able to fix it in a reasonable amount of time?
There's nothing else to do this afternoon.
Absolutely, you've got to give it a shot.
All that Scottish beef was just too much for their rear axle. And they'll need to work quickly if they're going to fix it in time for their second run.
So while the Scots stew, the Extinguishers compose themselves for their second run.
Extinguishers, go on the sound of the horn. With one good run in the bank, it's full throttle for the Extinguishers. But can they keep control?
They're off a fast but a slightly more shaky start that time.
Oh, they've hit that first gate and it really seems to have ruined their rhythm. Their nippy skateboard is clearly less stable at speed.
Right. Hang on, guys. Right, left. Hard left.
That early mistake means everything hangs on their last run.
The Extinguishers lost their cool at the first gate, and the 10-second penalty for hitting the barrel makes their time a disappointing 39 seconds.
The Steaming Scots have managed to patch up their rear truck, and the time to beat is still the 30 seconds recorded by the Extinguishers on their slow and steady first run. Steaming Scots, mount your lean, mean steaming machine and go on the sound of the horn.
Right.
Well, at least they're over the start line.
Yeah. No.
That axle seems to be holding, but where's that acceleration we saw on the first run?
Is that all the speed we've got?
That's all the speed we've got, boys.
Oh my God, we've got smoke coming from here, boys.
I think they're approaching a cone in a kind of quite an intimate manner there.
Too much friction on the axle, it's going to cut clean through it.
The Steaming Scots realise that desperate times call for desperate measures.
They missed the gate time. What's also interesting is with an electric engine, they've now got smoke coming out the back.
It's a brave-hearted effort for the Scots, but it won't be good enough.
Hey!
Despite relying on human power for over half of the course and incurring a 10-second penalty for hitting a barrel, the Steaming Scots record a time of 1 minute and 13 seconds. It's not a good time, but at least it's a time.
Oh, Steaming Scots went for the less than conventional pushing the giant skateboard approach there. How did that come about?
When we repaired it last time, it sort of caused too much friction in the back axle, so the motor didn't have enough power to get it through.
If we can lift the prop slightly, give it a little bit of clearance, it may break the axle, but we've got to go for break. It's our last run.
As the Extinguishers prepare for their final run, they still hold the lead, but will be keen to improve on the 30 seconds they recorded on their first attempt. Extinguishers, may your trucks turn and your springs steer. Go on the sound of the horn.
Go.
Right side, on, like. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we're on steady now. Let's start to build it a little.
That's it, they're really motoring now.
Line it up for the finish, Lenny. Line it up and give it up. Go on.
That's got to be faster. That has got to be faster.
Break. Not stop.
What a run! The Extinguishers were poetry in motion as they glided to the best time so far of 28 seconds.
It's been a disappointing day for the Steaming Scots, but their previous disasters will be forgotten if they pull out all the stops in the final run of the day. Steaming Scots, this is your third and final run. Go on the sound of the horn.
Fire it up, Hamish.
Full blast. Full blast.
Okay. Yeah. This is good, guys. This is good.
And it's an excellent start. Can the Scots turn it around?
Oh, and they've hit the barrel on the second.
But at that speed, they still have a chance.
That's going faster. Look at that.
Keep going. Go on. Flying finish.
At last, the Scots crossed the line with all 4 members on board.
On the last run of the day, their skateboard performed as they'd hoped it would earlier. Sadly, by hitting 2 barrels, they made it impossible for themselves to beat the Extinguishers. But at least they've ended on a high.
Well, teams, both machines, when they worked really well. But unfortunately, the team this week that came second are the Steaming Scots, but you did so well. Well done.
Well done, guys. Well done. That means that there must be another team that won, and it is definitely the Extinguishers. And if that got you stoked, well, join us again next week on Scrapheap for more mangled metal mayhem. See you then.
It's Ready, Aim, Fire next week as a bus depot crew from Colchester and a team of police dog handlers from Newcastle slug it out on the scrap heap, building and firing mobile mechanical mortars.
That's going to the next county.